is Dave Fryer. Welcome to The Reluctant Agilist. This is a podcast I've been waiting to do for a very long time, and I'm very appreciative of my friends from Atlassian for joining. So Derek Huether's back. Derek, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And Sam Tsubota is here as well, and they're going to help me with the problem that I have that came up out of a conversation I had with Ryan Ripley about story points and kind of where this took me. So we're going to get into all that in a second. We're going to be talking about flow metrics and how you get that stuff out of Jira. But before we do that, Derek, would you mind telling these fine people who you are?
Derek Huether, Principal Solutions Engineer for Enterprise Agility at Atlassian.
Okay, what does that mean? What do you do?
It means that I demonstrate the art of the possible to our biggest, most complex customers and help them understand how our products can help them solve their problems.
All right, cool. Thank you. And Sam, what about you?
Hi, I'm Sam Tsubota. I'm a senior product manager for Enterprise Agility. And what that means is that I'm a product manager for our Jira line product. That's our Enterprise Agile Planning product. Okay. And I specifically own data and reporting within that product.
Awesome. All right. So 2 experts here, and I came to them with a problem, and that came out of a conversation with a client who is getting pressure from above to switch to a model where story points equal time because the company says it wants predictability. And I was like, well, you'll never get that out of story points, or especially converting story points to time. But I was thinking back about my conversations with Ryan Ripley and Troy Lightfoot and thinking about the book, When Will It Be Done? And all of that. And I started thinking, well, why don't we just use flow metrics, especially if you're in Jira, because it's going to capture all that anyway. And if management comes and says, when will this thing be finished? I could just look at the lead time for the last 100 items and say, well, there's an 80% chance it'll be done in this period of time. So I reached out to Derek and I was like, hey, can we do a podcast and you guys show how this works? Because I don't use Jira enough to be able to explain this to everybody. So I'm just going to hand everything over to the two of you and stand here and watch and be in wonder and amazement the whole time.
So do you want me to lead, or Sam, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. Derek had approached me about this topic and mentioned that Dave had this problem that he got from his audience. And this is something I had been looking at within our Jira line product. We have customers that do Scaled Agile. Scaled Agile recently adopted flow metrics. And I used to be a solution architect on our team, and we had this debate about our story points kind of played out. Like, does it really, show progress? I've interviewed some customers too around like how they report progress through status reporting. And a few customers actually brought to my attention that they struggle with explaining to their leaders, what the progress is, especially around Agile, as how are they going to deliver, based on the targets they projected and what they forecasted out. And they struggled with points. But one of the challenges is that their leadership focus on points, and what they kind of also struggle with is, well, why am I not getting things faster? We just went Agile. Why are things taking so long? And so this is a very interesting dilemma that I see a lot of our customers struggling with. And one of the things that has been, I think, recently, especially with Mick Kirsten's book, Project to Product, a lot of people have started looking in and are interested in flow metrics and how do you adopt flow metrics? Because rather than looking at output, now you're looking at flow of value. And are you efficiently delivering value, through your teams, your value streams? And so this is something across Atlassian we started to focus on. And so we recently launched a new product called Atlassian Analytics. And what this is our data visualization platform, sort of like a Tableau or Power BI that sits on top of our Atlassian data lake. And what it allows you to do is to create views and dashboards within Jira Cloud Enterprise. So you can now create custom dashboards and reports using Atlassian Analytics. So previously, you could create dashboards within Jira, but it was very limited. You had to use JQL. Now we're giving you something more powerful, more robust that allows you to build these very complex dashboards that you can share across, your entire enterprise, and even to your executive leaders. Even through like Confluence, you could just embed the dashboard within Confluence itself. Now,
So
one of the
I want to interrupt you for
sure.
1 second, Tim, just to highlight this point. So one of the things that I was hoping to get to was a place where I could say to management, don't come down here and start asking people on the team like when crap's going to be done. If you want to know, just go look in the system because it's already got all that information. You don't have to come in here and make them figure it out, right?
Right.
That's
And this is what Atlassian Analytics can do. One of the nice things about it is that it comes with out of the box dashboards. They're starter dashboards that we have designed and developed. And we allow customers to create a version of their own, and they can actually modify them too. So some of the dashboards, I'm going to show you an example of one, which is Flow Metrics, where basically any of our customers that have Jira Cloud Enterprise with Atlassian Analytics can basically create a copy and then modify this to their needs. So they could customize the terminology, they could change the logic, anything they want. And what's nice about Atlassian Analytics, it uses a no-code, low-code way of creating queries called Visual SQL. But I won't go into that in general, but I'm going to show you an example of Flow Metrics and how it could be used, among teams to see like the flow of value across your teams. So I'm going to share a view of our Flow Metrics dashboard for Jira. And again, like I said, this is an out-of-the-box dashboard that any customer that has Atlassian Analytics can basically create just by, using the create button itself. So you'll see here, this is an example of a Flow Metrics dashboard that uses issue types. And it shows you what the throughput, cycle time, lead time, across either specific projects, issues. You basically get to select what criteria you want to use and the interval.
So you
And
can,
then
I'm sorry, I'm going to keep rudely interrupting you. So you could filter it so that I just want to see for bugs, like how long does it take to get bugs done, or how long does it take to get epics done, or whatever. Okay.
Yes. Okay. And we give you just a quick overview based on your filter criteria that you selected. So your issues completed per month, issues in progress per month, your lead time, your cycle time, and your flow efficiency. And then here we give you some detailed analysis of your throughput across your different issue types, your work profiles, so your distribution of how much time are you spending on certain types of issues in each of your on a month by month over basis. Then we show trending of your lead time and cycle time across issues.
Would you mind like just quickly explaining lead time and cycle time for people that might not know what they are? Or Derek, since you wrote a whole book about it, if you want to do it, you could.
Sure. So lead time is the time from kind of the initiation of an issue, so when it's first created, to when it's finally completed, right? So that's the end-to-end time. Now, cycle time is from the time that it work actually starts, so when it actually goes in progress, and then to the time it actually completes. And so the purpose of showing you lead time and cycle time is to show you, are there any bottlenecks? Why are things taking longer than you think they should? Because the whole point of Flow Metrics is to efficiently deliver value to your customers as quickly as possible so that they can realize value, right? And so the quicker you're able to complete, your issues, the faster your customers are going to see that value and have it in their hands.
So if there's any senior leadership watching this, if you're accustomed to asking teams or asking what the team's velocity is, flow efficiency would probably be a much better indicator of performance. Although if they have things jamming up their workflow, they may not be things they can control. It might be organizational things or other stuff that has to change to help them become more efficient.
Right. The flow efficiency is going to show them how much time relative to the full lead time, how much of that time was actually focused on value delivery, actually valuable time versus waiting. So I don't know if that's going to, it's a nice cursory view, but you're going to have to dig into that to identify where that bottleneck in the system and then elevate that bottleneck. That's where that executive can step in and help relieve that bottleneck.
It shows them where to ask questions instead of just saying, why can't you do more points than this other team?
Correct. And I believe that asking them, I think that they're ill-informed, that if an executive is asking about points, really agile teams or scrum teams, they're using a different language than the executives. And so there's a breakdown in communication. And instead of asking them, can you deliver more points? It's really the executive should ask them the different question. What do you need in order to deliver more value within a set period of time? That might be a more appropriate question.
Cool. Okay.
And I think Derek brings up a very good point. This is about identifying potential bottlenecks, right? Where do you have disruptions to your flow? Now, this isn't going to give you the answers. And I think that needs to be understood, because a lot of executives jump to, well, okay, I see there's a problem, but where is the problem? So that, I think, is a deeper level that has to be, dived into. And this will only kind of highlight that you have disruptions to your flow.
Sure. But if the team if they're creating like a value stream map and they know, like, we know it's over here, then they can all start to look at that area together and decipher why that thing is there. But this tool would help them kind of pinpoint the section of their flow to look at, maybe.
Correct. Right? And I think this is, if an organization agrees on using flow metrics, it should be used across the organization, from the team all the way up to the executive level, and getting that alignment, right? Because you're right, absolutely right, Dave. A team should be able to look at this and say, where do we have disruptions? Now, how can we improve, right? In your retro, how do we improve our, flow efficiency, as Derek is saying?
Cool. This is awesome.
And the other thing I like about this is just going to work out of box. That is, you have these instances, and the data will feed the lake, which will then inform the analytics. And so you don't have to do all that configuration. I mean, you essentially,
it's already in there.
It's in there. And a lot of times with the executives, they don't know what they don't know, but they know it when they see it. And if you can at least show them something to help facilitate a conversation, you can start creating visualizations using Atlassian Analytics that help answer the questions the executives are looking for, versus, again, trying to have a conversation about how many points can you increase the amount of points that you can do within a period of time.
Okay. So can I ask you guys questions about this now, or do you, Sam, do you still have more stuff you need to show here?
No, feel free, Dave.
Okay. So I'm going to treat these questions. I'm going to start and stop each one as its own thing, in case, because if I ask a question and like, it doesn't do that, I'm just going to cut that part out. Okay. So here's my first question. Can you show me how this information would help me get an idea of when a particular thing might be done? Like, there's an 80% chance it'll be done in this many days. Is there a way to see that in the tool? Like, a new item hits the backlog and management's like, when will this be in the customer's hands?
The data points are there.
Okay.
So if we step back and think about those flow metrics, what we're looking at is, what is the average lead time of a team? What is their average throughput rates of that team?
Right.
And then, given if the work, it has the same size and complexity of past work, then we should have, within a reasonable confidence, be able to predict
like an average time.
Right. But again, I hate to say average, but there's always a flaw of averages, but we have make certain assumptions that if they have standardized work, or if we can recognize, if we have a rubric, if we can compare this work to other work and see what past performance tells us. Less of it, don't ask the team how long it's going to take them, as much as if they can understand what it is that you're asking them to deliver, then look at past performance, and that is your best indicator.
Okay.
The lagging indicators are your best predictor of when you can expect delivery of this thing.
And it would also help us focus energy within the team or teams on right sizing the work, so that it is all very similar in size, because that's going to make these metrics more efficient, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if I can add to that, when we think about Kanban teams, some Kanban teams, they don't find value in estimating their work.
Right.
But there's an assumption there that it's because the work that's coming into the queue is a standardized type of work. And so they're making an assumption that, if it's just an inbound request from a call center, that it's already pre-sized. If it doesn't fit in that box, it won't fit in the queue, and then they're going to reject it because there's uncertainty, there's unknowns that prevent it from being sized appropriately.
Okay.
And
so a definition of ready would help with stuff in the Kanban backlog as well.
yes, absolutely.
All right. Okay, I have another question. I was talking with somebody, a colleague of mine, about this, and said that I was reaching out to you guys to see if we could do this podcast, and he said, well, one of the challenges you're going to run into is tasks for stories in Jira, because there is, I don't know, I mean, and I'm curious actually from you guys, what is the difference between those two things in the system? Because like when I'm teaching my class, I say like, well, when I say task, that's what Jira calls a subtask. When I say product backlog item, that's what Jira calls a task or a story. Like, how does that factor into all this?
So I think what's kind of one of the things about Jira is it offers you that flexibility as a customer to define what those issues are.
Okay.
Now, this dashboard, you can select to either use a task or a story. You don't have to do both.
Could
So
you do both?
you could do both. I've seen customers define them differently. Like a task is an administrative task that they need to do versus a story is actual work on, or some form of value
So
that
it's
they're
just a work
working on.
type then. It's literally just a work type.
Correct.
Okay. So if I wanted to, I could say that anything in the product backlog, I could call it a story or a task. Instead, I don't have to use both. Or do I?
You don't have to. I would say it's really dependent on your organization and what issues that you want to use and
Okay.
how you define them.
Okay. But they can, for any issue type, they can track these flow metrics.
Correct.
Okay. So that's great. Just for my own curiosity, what is the difference for you guys between those two things? Stories and tasks in the system. Is it just a tag or is there some other thing?
No, they're actual issue types. So there's story, there's task, and then as you mentioned, there's subtasks. Subtasks are childs of stories.
Right. But you don't have like a stories break down into tasks, break down into subtasks, or tasks break down into stories, break down into it's like not a thing for you guys.
There is levels of that. If you think of, if within Jira, there's a Jira Epic, which you can rename now. If you want to call it a feature, you can. You just call it whatever you want. But the goal is to understand that a story is a child of that object, and then a subtask could be a child of that story object.
So are task and story parallel in the hierarchy?
Yes.
I'm cutting this out of the interview. I'm just asking.
Yes. No, they are actually. They're parallel.
Okay. All right.
Subtask is a child of a story.
Right. I usually say a subtask is something an individual could do in 30 minutes to 6 hours. A story or a task requires an entire team to deliver because you have to design, develop, and test.
I think it's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do we need to show them about this? I mean, you guys have already hit everything I wanted to hit, and you did it much faster than I thought we were gonna. So, what do you want to talk about to promote the tool, or get people to use it or understand
it?
I think the thing about this Atlassian Analytics, it's just not Jira software. Our vision is that we will get all of the Jira cloud products, including Jira Line. You're going to be able to create dashboards.
Let me ask the question again. You can start the whole bit over because it's something that's going to be good, right? All right. So I appreciate you guys showing this, and I'm hoping people see that this is a much easier way to get, arguably, a better way of predicting when work will be done out of the system, and it's data that's already being captured, so you don't have to do anything special to get to it. But what else do the people that are watching this need to know about this tool?
So, what people should know about Atlassian Analytics is that it's just not visualizing your Jira software data. You're also going to be able to see your Jira service management, Ops Genie, eventually all of our Jira Cloud products we're going to pump all that data into the Atlassian data lake. You're going to be able to visualize your data, your Jira, like your Atlassian data within Atlassian Analytics. And then later on this year, we're also going to allow Jira Line, customers of Jira Line to connect our Jira Line Data Mart Enterprise Insights to Atlassian Analytics. So now you'll be able to create dashboards across, all of our Jira, and Jira Line products, and be able to create dashboards across, those products. In addition, you can connect third-party data sources, or even like data lakes like Snowflake, to Atlassian Analytics. So now you can have this picture across your organization, across all different data sources, all within Atlassian Analytics. So it could be your like one-stop shop for data analysis and dashboarding.
Okay. So one thing I forgot to ask you about is, what about the program or portfolio level? Can I actually look at stuff across multiple projects, or, everything in the organization if I want to?
Yes, you're going to have access in Atlassian Analytics to view the data across all your projects in Jira Cloud. One of the things too that's nice about the data lake is you can actually control the permissions of what projects certain users can actually see in the data lake data source as well. So if there are certain projects that you deem as top secret, or you need an NDA, you can actually restrict who can view that data.
Awesome. This is great.
And there's an additional capability that we haven't touched on yet, that if you look at Sam's screen on the right side, it's not just having it in analytics, but it's then sharing that information out. And so there are some sharing options, some download options. But what's really nice is, because it's within the Atlassian ecosystem, you can actually embed these dashboards in other Atlassian products. So if you have a
they can look in
Confluence
Confluence and see this updated in real time, so management doesn't have to open Jira.
Correct.
That's nice.
And you can also create subscriptions. So say an executive doesn't want to go in analytics, you can actually send a PDF version to a certain set of users or audience, and then they'll receive it on a schedule.
That's awesome. Cool. So they probably would still need somebody on their teams who could look at this and understand, like where in the cycle things are getting bogged down, or where there's a lot of wait time and things like that. Somebody would have to look at this data and interpret it, but at least it's all in one place where people can see it.
Yep. That always seems to be the problem. It's, you can present a visualization, but what does it tell you?
It's only a problem until someone builds an AI of Troy McGinnis, and then it's fine.
There you go. And
what were you going to say? Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh no, you mentioned Troy, and right away I'm like, right, we can visualize dependencies, and it shows you the probability, how it goes down when you have more dependencies in the system. So yeah, so you're actually nailing it. Is the things that Troy talks about, where I've heard Troy mention that if you have a commitment, for every dependency that you have, it cuts in half the probability of success. So you can absolutely do that with this. You would be able to visualize. It could show you. It would be kind of frightening to say, oh, within this project, I have this many dependencies. Probability of success is a fraction of 1%. Yeah. But it would be able to do that.
That's very cool. I appreciate you guys taking time to do this. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I have one closing question for both of you. And Derek, before I ask this question, will you grab that pillow off your back chair, the special pillow, and show it to everyone? Or one of the two special pillows?
I've got two of them. I'll be right back.
And Sam, you're not prepared for this question, but I'm hoping you're going to be able to field it anyway. I'm going to get my book, too.
My man, Cameron Poe? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. And I have this book here. We're both big fans of The Cage. So I would like to know from both of you, best Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh, I actually have an answer for that, Dave.
If you only watch one more Nicolas Cage movie for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I'm going to allow you to include films where he's listed as a Coppola instead of Cage.
Sam, you want to go first?
I actually have an answer for this one. I'll tell you, Dave, and it sounds really cheesy. It's Valley Girl.
I think that's a great answer. That would probably be my second choice.
That was my second choice.
Really? Wow.
My number one choice is Raising Arizona.
That's awesome. I'm going to go with Birdie. That is my favorite Nicolas Cage movie, both for his hair and his use of the F word, which is De Niro like impressive in that film. So, thank you guys.
Thank you, Dave.
If you want to leave in comments anything you want to share about your favorite Nicolas Cage movie, as long as you don't say Mandy, you're allowed to put anything you want down there. But guys, thank you very much for taking time for this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dave.
If you learn to work the old way, but the